coming up on Film Nerd by Night.
It's reminding me of 2000s superhero movies. A lot of critics, positive word on this. For some strange reason, though, it looks like right now it may flop.
And now, the show.
All right, folks, I'm Cole Powell, musician by day, film nerd by night. Before we get into it, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, click the bell notification, follow, whatever platform you're on, do all the things that are promotional and benefit the channel if you like what you hear. Also, consider supporting us on Patreon for early access to episodes like these and full-length movie reactions. There's two big movies coming out. I'm only really interested in one of those, and that is Masters of the Universe. This is the He-Man franchise, the first He-Man movie's been made in 40 years. I was a little bit young to enjoy the cartoon when it was first out in the 80s, but I had older siblings, cousins who did grow up with that, and I had the hand-me-down action figures. I had a coloring book, and it was something of the holy grail for sci-fi fantasy properties for me growing up in the 90s. When I became an adult and started having my own kids, I used that as an excuse to buy the entire series on DVD, and I watched it with my oldest daughter, the only kid I had at the time. And I was a bit too old to really enjoy it like I would have if I'd have been growing up in the 80s watching this, but I got it. I understood why it was such a big deal and why so many people loved it, and I actually liked it, even though I was an adult and couldn't really appreciate it like I would have had I been a kid in the 80s. But I totally understand it. It was an iconic property. When they announced this movie, my first thought was, it's probably going to be terrible. They're not going to be able to do it justice. It's going to be silly. They're just not going to get the formula right. I got to tell you, I've been sold by the trailers. I did a trailer reaction to the first trailer. I've watched the two trailers that have come out since then, and the second trailer I felt like was really the best as far as hooking me with my own personal taste. It was more action oriented, less humor, but it looks like there's going to be a lot of humor in there. But either way, it's reminding me of 2000s, 2010s superhero movies, which I love those movies. The Marvel stuff. I'm getting some Guardians of the Galaxy vibes here, some Thor 1 vibes here. I love both of those movies. I love the early MCU stuff. And I think this looks right in that wheelhouse. It's kind of a throwback, a little bit nostalgic now, where it's crazy to think about that it's 2026 and nostalgia is now 2008, 2010. But that's where we are. And even though it does look like there's going to be some humor in there, I still think that it looks like there's going to be a lot of action, some seriousness, some drama. The perfect recipe for this type of movie for me, for my generation, at least. And it looks like they're sticking close to the source material as far as characterizations, even though apparently there's this fish out of water, banished, exiled to Earth, grew up on Earth plot line that wasn't in the original, but maybe it's been in some other adaptation that I don't know about. But even so, I still like the look of it, looking forward to it. And I was expecting this to be tracking really well heading into this weekend, particularly with some positive word of mouth, which isn't uncommon for a movie like this, so take that with a grain of salt. But the screenings of this after the premiere, a lot of critics, positive word on this. For some strange reason, though, it looks like right now it may flop. It's on track for 30 to 40 million at the box office, and it reportedly has a budget, I think, of something like 175 million, which is 170 million according to GamesRadar.com. I'm not sure where they said they sourced this from. Forbes. I didn't see the original Forbes article, but that is certifiable flop territory, or $30 to $40 million domestic opening, unless they can make up internationally. And apparently one of the reasons that it's projected to make so low is Scary Movie 6, that I forgot what was coming out. I remember it being announced, like, oh yeah, another scary movie. I've never watched any of the scary movies. Theoretically, I like parodies, but most of the time they're really bad. So I've never checked out scary movie stuff. I also am not a fan of the modern horror genre, which these movies spoof. So it's not a lot for me there. So this wasn't really on my radar, even calculating that it was coming up against Masters of the Universe being released on the same day, that it would be cutting into that box office. But apparently it is. Also, I have noticed that the two theaters that are closest to my house, there are one in two different towns in opposite directions from where I am, about 30 minutes and 40 minutes away. They had not released their Friday schedules, which was a little unusual for during the big summer blockbuster. They would at least already had the blockbusters on the docket. They had not released those until today, and one released their schedule for this weekend, and they're not picking up Masters of the Universe. And the other theater has still not released their schedule, so I'm wondering if there's some hesitation here or something with the Amazon distribution that's preventing this from being picked up wide. The whole thing's just very odd, so this may not go to as many theaters as a normal movie of this caliber, like an MCU entry, would go to. So right now, unfortunately, it looks like it's gonna tank. I plan to go see it, even if I have to drive an hour and 15 minutes away to a theater to see this thing, because it just looks so much fun. I love this genre. It, again, reminded me of the early MCU's days that I was a really big fan of. So I'm going to go check this out. But right now, based on the box office tracking, unless there's some really, really positive word of mouth on this, it's shaping up to be a box office flop. And if it ends up being as good as the initial word of mouth is, the positive reactions are, and as good as it looks in the trailers, that's going to be a shame. If you enjoyed that clip, be sure to follow the Film Nerd by Night podcast wherever you're getting this episode. Also, consider support us on Patreon for full-length movie reactions and early access to episodes like this. Stay tuned. We'll see you next time.
Film Nerd by Night, created and hosted by Cole Powell. Theme, Beautiful Now, written and performed by Cole Powell, a Randomine Records production. Section 107 of U.S. copyright law allows for the fair use of copyrighted material for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, parody, or research.